Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday, July 26, 2014. This is episode 1103. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used Apple or Android device is worth at Gazelle.com. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk about computers, the internet, smartphones, home theater, digital photography, Comic-Con, and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada outside that area. You just use Skype. You can reach us that way. Although if you're, my daughter said, my Skype stopped working. I said, yeah, you know what? Microsoft's requiring you update your Skype now, which is something new. Microsoft bought Skype, remember, about 2 years ago. And we've been waiting for them to kind of put their stamp on it. The first thing they did is they changed how Skype worked with the supernodes. And then now they're saying you have to always use the most recent version of Skype, which is a little scary because, I mean, it makes sense from their point of view because then the technologies match and so forth. You know, because sometimes if you called somebody using an older version of Skype, the quality would be terrible. But feeling it's also may have to do with like things like putting ads in Skype and making sure that you see them, things like that. We'll see. Anyway, you can use Skype out to reach us. It's toll free, so it shouldn't cost you anything. 8888. Ask Leo. I finally got my Amazon phone. Finally came. Oh, I was excited anyway. I opened up the box. This is the Fire phone. If you ordered it the day it came out, then you would have gotten it on Thursday because they were supposed to come out on the 25th, but they came out a day early. Nice big Amazon on the back. AT&T only. That's the only carrier on it. And, after using it for a few days, there's some interesting things. It is, if you've used the Kindle Fire HDX, their tablet, you know the user interface. It's very Amazon specific. This has a few interesting things. It has a dedicated camera button, which I like. And if you press it and hold it, then these little fireflies come on the screen. And they start looking for things to recognize. And it could be music, it could be a TV show, could be an object that you want to buy from Amazon, or Amazon wants to sell you. Let me point it at something here. I'll point it at a product. Still thinking. Oh, it found Gazelle. It saw the word Gazelle. That's good. It found Gazelle.com. Let's point it at a product here, see if it recognizes this product. It's thinking. Thinking, working. You know, it does pretty well. The idea, as you might imagine, of everything in this Fire phone is that it all brings you back to Amazon. So if you point it at a product Amazon sells, you can buy it directly from Amazon. They've done some interesting things with the phone. It has 4 cameras in each corner on the front, and that allows it to do this kind of weird, they call it, what do they call it? Dynamic perspective. So when you tilt the phone, you can kind of look. It's weird. You can kind of look behind things, which is a gimmick. It doesn't really have any huge value. I don't know if you. I guess you'd have to hold it in your hand to really see because it's looking at my face. And so it's only the person who's looking at it can really use it. There are some games that are designed to use the thing. It comes with 3 or 4 games like Clay Doodle that are designed to use the phone. You know what? I'll cut to the chase because all you really care about, I'm sure, is should this be a phone I should consider if I'm buying a new smartphone? 4.7 inches feels a lot like an iPhone. Looks a lot like an iPhone. The classic slab. It looks like the glass back on the iPhone 4S, but it's not. It's a plastic back, glass front. It's a nice screen. I mean, you know what? It's exactly like all the other kind of high-end smartphones. Priced the same, too, by the way. Disadvantages, AT&T only, so you have to be an AT&T customer or be willing to switch over to AT&T. It's Android, but it's kind of Amazon's own special Android. And I admit, as did many of the reviewers who looked at this phone, admire them for trying to do something new. But really what I come away with is, gosh, this would be a good phone if they had just stuck with Android. Do Android and put on top of it the Amazon stuff. That's fine. And the perspective and all that stuff. They could have done that and had it be a more standard Android. Because you know what's missing? Google. No Google Maps, no Google Plus, no Google Pictures. None of the Google features are on it or can be on it. Google won't let them install on top of it. So and you can't even use the Google Play Store. You have to use Amazon Store, which has roughly 1/8 of the number of apps that the Google Play Store has. You know, it's got all the big ones. But if this had just been regular Android, I think this would be a compelling phone. Now, as it is, reminds me a little bit of Windows Phone. There's some nice things in it. It's kind of cool, but it's a cul-de-sac. It's kind of a dead end off of the mainstream of iOS and Android. Really comes down to iOS and Android ultimately. I did play with a new Android phone that's kind of an interesting marketing strategy. The OnePlus One. Have you heard about this one? They call it the flagship killer. It is a top-of-the-line phone. Latest Qualcomm processor, very high-res screen, super camera, beautiful 5.5-inch, just gorgeous phone. But you can't buy it. You can't go to a phone store and buy it. You can't go to Amazon and buy it. There's limited availability. But when it first came out, this OnePlus One, if you could enter a contest by sending them a video of you destroying your current smartphone, and then they would send you a OnePlus One. I don't know what you do in the meantime. Then people complained about that. Do you really want people to destroy phones? They could be recycled. They could be okay. We won't make them do that. Now they have various contests. You can get an invitation. It's great marketing, but it's a hard phone to get. Nice phone. Love the phone. Very nice phone. Latest version of Android via Cyanogen, which is a third-party mod that people really love. This is the OnePlus One, but it's hard to talk about it or recommend it because you can't buy it. So it's frustrating for people. I suppose at some point, I guess they plan to make it available, or maybe this is the whole deal. Maybe this is it. We're never going to make it available. We're just going to make 1,000 at a time. I don't really understand it. It's an interesting concept, I guess. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. What else is going on in the world? Apple, apparently, the rumor is now, is planning mid-September for its iPhone launch, as long as we're talking phones. Again, these are all rumors, but this is from a good source. Mark Gurman, writing in 9 to 5 Mac. Second or third week of September. Now, we don't know if that means the phone will be available right away. In the past, it's been available a week or so after the announcement. So if you're holding out, if you have an old iPhone or you're ready to get the new iPhone and you're holding out, well, you'll know what to expect by the second or third week of September. You'll be able to buy it by the end of September. Yeah, no surprise. This is pretty much how they've done it the last few years. First iPhone was announced in June. You remember that? Apple had a very good quarter. Their quarterly results came out. They sold 35.2 million iPhones in the quarter ending in June. They made the most money of all on the iPhone. They're an iPhone company. They had hoped to sell a little bit more, but it's more than they sold a year ago. This isn't the big quarter. This is probably the slowest quarter because, as Apple pointed out, people wait because of rumors. They said that with a kind of those rumors, a little snippish. Yeah, they wait. So sales down a little bit on the iPhone because everybody knows Apple's got a new one. Rumor or not, everybody knows Apple will have a new one in the fall. Revenue, pretty strong. Profits good. You know, it's a successful company. They sold more Macs than they had in quite some time. That's good news as far as I'm concerned. Of course, they had some new Macs. Good quarter for Apple. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to go to the phones. We could talk about other tech news a little later on. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, yeah, this is disappointing. I mean, there's so many interesting things in this phone. Sound quality. Oh, there is the new... I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, though. So they have every day a new front, lock screen. You can't... Because it's seeing my face, so you can't really... I have to tilt it a little bit. But you can see it. And see, every one of these has a date and time in it somewhere. That's a gimmick. I don't think that's real valuable. I think the Firefly thing is an interesting idea. Good camera. I mean, it's a good phone. If this were Android, it'd be worthy of consideration. But it's not. It's forked Android. They forked it up. Physical home button, I'm not crazy about that, but I guess you kind of need it because otherwise you get lost. Here, I'll enter this off camera. And then when you're on the home screen, it's, this is really not a good idea, I don't think. It has that fire carousel of most recently used apps. The only way to get the app grid is the actual app grid. So you kind of don't want to install too much stuff. I like this. This is a quick setting, so you can turn on a flashlight. But Apple has this. Android does this now. Oh, this is something I really don't like. Let's go back to the carousel. How do I get... Hello. Oh, this is nice. This is very much like Apple, where they've got the notifications. How do I get to the... There we go. So we're on the carousel. Now, sometimes the carousel is useful. Like, let's see. Okay, email. So what it does is the big icon is... See, these are it does it in order most recently used. And then it has some emails underneath it. Firefly. That's the most recent identification. That's cool. The maps, it's recommending I look at a map of New York. I don't know. The game, now this is what I don't like. When you have any app that doesn't have any content, it recommends here other games that you might want to download or other apps you might want to download. That's a lot of space, again. These are magazines recommended that I don't own. That's a lot of space wasted, and I don't know of any way to... If it's a camera, that's great because it shows pictures. If it's the map, I guess. Recent recognition, email. But here's a game, and now it's just showing me other train games. It's like... That's a third of the screen wasted on recommendations. More recommendations. Audible is showing me, hey, here's a book you can get. Messages, that's good. At least it shows you messages. Other Evernote. See, I have Evernote. I don't need SpringPad, which just went out of business. So I don't waste my energy with that. Same thing. LastPass showing me LastPass competitors. And I don't know of any way to turn that off. That's terrible. That's a terrible waste. Again, here's a book I'm reading and a bunch of related books that I might want to buy. These are recent phone calls. That's good. I don't know what. That's the wallet. Instagram, what does it show me? Yeah, other apps. I just think that that's not as useful. Here's my calendar. I mean, that's okay. Oh, God, because of the parallax thing, it really looks horrible when it's tilted. It looks blurry. Not recommended. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number if you want to talk high tech. Website, techguylabs.com. I guess the good news about the Amazon phone is here's one phone you can cross off the list. It's complicated. There's so many great phones out there. Here's one you don't have to worry about. Do not buy this. It's no cheaper. If we're cheaper, maybe. It's not. It costs the same as an iPhone or a top-of-the-line Android phone. I guess you just cross that off the list. So there you go. That's good news. That's positive. One thing I don't have to buy or think about or consider. 8888 Ask Leo. Heather Hammond, the phone ranger, answers the phones, prepares you for your moment of glory, and does a wonderful job of that. Hello, Heather. How are you?
Hello. Great. Mike needed almost no work at all.
Is Mike ready to air? Is he air ready? Program ready?
Yes.
All right. Did you give him the undercoating, or did he not want that?
He didn't want it.
Darn, that's a real valuable sell-through for our... Oh, well, just talk to him anyway. Hi, Mike. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Albany, Mississippi?
Yes, sir. New Albany, Mississippi.
New Albany. How's the old Albany doing?
Well, it's no longer here. It burned down long before my time.
Interesting. So did they build a new Albany next to the old Albany or right on top of it?
Now that, like I say, before my time.
It's a mystery.
That's it.
What can I do for you, Mike?
Leo, I appreciate you taking my call, and I also want to thank you for your Twit network. I probably spend more time watching it than I do any network TV.
I love hearing that. That's, of course, our, I hate to use the word podcast because it's more like an internet television station than a podcast. But we cover technology kind of obsessively all week long. I figured working weekends, I really should do something else. You know, what am I going to do? Sit on the beach 5 days a week? Gosh, that sounds pretty good right about now. But instead, we do lots of shows on all sorts of topics. Well, thank you for listening, Mike. I appreciate it.
Well, Leo, my question, I'm normally not, a paranoid person or something, but, and coming back to Amazon right after you reviewed the phone, I've got an update for the Amazon App Store. I'm a Prime member.
Okay.
And I noticed a change in the permissions. And the thing that caught my eye was it was saying that it could send SMS messages.
Yeah.
Now, I have unlimited SMS messages, so I don't, it says it could cost me money. I'm not worried about that. But, I don't want Amazon being able to send it.
I don't blame you.
Messages in my name.
So let me explain that, because this is now. First of all, I know from your description that you have an Android phone.
Yes, sir.
This is one of the things I love about Android. Apple has a permission system, and when you're an application developer, you say I'm going to be doing this, this, and this, and Apple checks that. But they don't expose that to the user in the same way Android does. Apple's attitude is trust us, we'll take care of you. Android is I like this. They actually, when you install a new app, they actually show you what permissions the app has, so you can decide. Now, I wish they gave you the ability to say, don't do that, do that, do that, do that, don't do that. They don't do that, and the reason they don't, I think, is because applications would maybe break if you said you can't send an SMS. Here's the good news. The way that this is the unfortunate thing is the way the permission is written is the ability to send text messages. But really, when programs ask for that, it's usually for one and only one reason. They're not going to send random messages to your friends saying something like, hey, guess what? Mike just bought a barbecue oven. They're not going to say things like that. What they're going to do is they're preparing to give you, I believe, second-factor authentication. This works with WhatsApp and some other applications. When you sign up, it then says, okay, we're going to send a text message to your phone. We need the ability to read the text message to give you the authentication. Unfortunately, the way the permissions are set up in Android, sending a text message and reading a text message, same permission. So they have to ask you, they have to tell you we're going to do this. The hue and cry that would go up if Amazon started sending text messages without your permission would be, you would know about it and you could then delete it. But at this point, I wouldn't worry about it. A lot of apps do this.
There's one other one that when that one showed up and made me look, I went back and started looking through the.
I'm glad you read these because most people just go accept, accept, accept. It's good you read these.
Most of the time, that's what I do. But then, like I say, this one kind of threw up.
Well, and the other thing Android started doing, which I love, is it says when there's new permissions, it then needs explicit acceptance from you, and it shows you with the big word "new" what the new stuff is, so you can see, hey, this app has now asked for new permissions, and that's probably why you noticed this SMS one because it's a new one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but then one of the old ones that I hadn't seen before was asking for permissions to look at my accounts and what really caught my eye was passwords.
Well, again, whenever you install an app, and this is where Apple kind of is right, you are of necessity trusting that app. And this is why we always say be very careful when you install apps on your desktop or your phone, because no matter what, you're giving the app a lot of access by installing it on the phone. Both iOS and Android try to, kind of restrict, we call it sandbox, what that app can do, and then only let them do the things they specifically ask for. I doubt very much that Amazon is doing anything nefarious like copying your passwords and sending them off to the Amazon server. It probably is something like automatic login or something like that. And I bet both of these permissions, both new, will go. They'll all make sense in a later version where it starts to, I don't know what, text, second factor authentication or something like that. You have to trust Amazon if you're going to use their app, regardless of what the permissions say, right? They have your credit card number.
Well, Leo, I really appreciate your help, and like I say, I really enjoy your shows, and I'm also a ham, enjoy Ham Nation, A5H.
Well,
7-3, my friend.
7-3, my friend. Thank you. W6TWT out. This comes up a lot. It also comes up with terms of service when a company updates its terms of service, and a lot of times people freak out. This is why Apple's decided not to do this, and I'm not sure which approach I prefer. For sophisticated users, I like Android's approach because at least you have the information and you can try to figure out what it means. Apple just says, "Well, look, we'll do this on your behalf. We'll contact Amazon and see what the heck they're trying to do here, and we won't approve the app unless it's something we agree with." In both cases, though, whenever you install an app on your computer or your phone, which is also a computer, that app has a lot of capabilities that you don't really know about. And there's a certain amount of trust. That's why you should always be very careful about what you install. Malware is always an application, requires a bad guy to have, get an application on your system. And so it's really, there's a certain amount of trust involved. Big name like Amazon, I think you can trust them. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, you know what I got to tell you about? I want to tell you about Gazelle. It is getting to be the happy season. The new iPhones are coming out in 2 months. There's some new sleek phones from LG, the G3. Maybe you want an Amazon phone. Maybe you don't. But maybe it's time to get rid of the old and ring in the new. And if that's the case, then it's time to go to Gazelle.com. I bet you, like a lot of geeks, have a drawer full of unused old gadgets, phones, tablets, computers, and they're just sitting there gathering dust. Wouldn't it be nice if you could turn them into cash? You can at Gazelle. Gazelle will buy your old phone and electronics and turn them into cash. And there's some real advantages to using Gazelle. For one thing, these quotes are good for 30 days. So that means it's advantages on your side. You can get a quote and lock it in. You don't have to send them the stuff right away. You could say, "Oh, okay, good to know. Thank you, Gazelle." What's $210 for a good condition iPhone 5? That's a good deal. And if it's unlocked, it's worth even more. Gazelle. New iPads are coming out, we think, in October. Maybe time to find out how much that old iPad is worth. Get a quote from Gazelle. For 30 days, that quote is good for 30 days, and then after that, as you come up to that time, you pull the trigger. You say, "Hey, that old 32-gigabyte iPad 2 with Wi-Fi, that's worth $100. That's kind of amazing." Now, what I suggest is you just go through everything in that old gadget drawer. Get everything you can. They'll even buy broken iPhones and iPads, by the way. Lock in that price. When you get the new one, in the next 30 days, you pull the trigger. They'll send you a box with the shipping on it, so you don't even have to pay for shipping. And then you'll get paid fast by PayPal. If you want an instant credit, you can get a check mailed to you. Or, and this is my tip, if you buy a lot of stuff at Amazon, get that Amazon gift card and you get an additional 5%. They buy cell phones from Apple, BlackBerry, HTC, LG, Motorola, Nokia, Samsung. Did you buy a Surface Pro, the old one, and you want to get a new one? They'll buy it. They wipe your data if you forget. Gazelle has paid more than $100 million to over 700,000 customers. They pay for shipping, they process it fast, then they get cash in your hand. What is your Apple or Android device worth? Find out. Take a minute and go to Gazelle.com. And I can tell you one thing, it's not gaining in value. Go to Gazelle right away to sell your gadgets the fast and easy way. Gazelle, Gazelle.com. Look who's here, Scott Wilkinson, home theater guru. He joins us each and every week at this time to talk about home theater. That could be a big screen, it could be surround sound, it could be going to the movies. And what have you seen the what are the hot new summer flicks? I was talking to a visual effects expert. And he saw.
Ooh, that's always fun.
He said the Apes movie is probably
Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Man, it is great.
Yeah. Once again, they destroy
it.
San Francisco. Oh no, it's a future San Francisco.
It's a future San Francisco that's already destroyed.
Oh, so that's okay.
So they didn't have to worry. They don't have to do anything. It's already.
He said
there.
they shot that in New Orleans.
Well, they shot all the forest scenes in British Columbia.
Yeah, it's so weird. Well, it's
supposed to be Marin.
Right. Of course they did. So
I don't know otherwise, but the movie itself is fantastic. I mean, it's the way that they did the apes. Andy Serkis is getting a lot of attention as the actor who played Caesar, the leader of the ape community. And he did an amazing job. Now, they replaced his body with a computer-generated chimpanzee.
Of course they did. What do you mean?
But
yeah,
unlike the early Planet of the Apes movies where they were people wearing ape suits, right? So
yes,
but
that's
he still
a lot
had
better, isn't it?
It's a lot better.
Yeah,
but he had to. He still had to move. He was doing something called motion capture or mocap, and he still had to learn how to move like an ape, like a chimpanzee, because they were capturing his movements, and then they were going to put a computer-generated ape over the skeletal whatever of his movements. He also had to, and so he was wearing like this body leotard with dots all over it, like so they could capture the motion. He also had to act with a little camera coming out from his head on a little boom pointed back at his face, so that they could capture the emotional tone of his facial expressions.
It's really
in very fine detail. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it came through really, really well. I mean, the Caesar, when you see the movie and you see the ape's face, and you can tell when he's sad or when he's angry. I mean, or when he's fearful for his wife, who's sick. It's really something.
It's actual emotions. It's actual.
Exactly.
He's acting, right?
Exactly, and they took those motions, those expressions, down to the finest detail in his face, certainly, and put it on. Put the computer-generated ape face around it. And it worked. It's so seamless. Just beautiful. I
thought he deserved an Academy Award nomination for Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Exactly.
I don't know if he'll get one.
He should get one here, too. Yeah. It was actually shot in 3D. It wasn't post-produced. It wasn't like they shot it in 2D and then took it back into the studio. Now,
I saw some tweets from people who said to me specifically, "Oh, you're so right. This was a very gimmicky 3D movie." Was it?
Oh, I disagree entirely.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, not at all. In fact, I read an interview with one of the special effects or one of the camera guys who said that they specifically. Oh no, it was the director, Matt Reeves. He said specifically that they shot with what's called a narrow 3D. That is, they didn't extend it wide.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, I do too. It's much more effective. So that was, I thought, a very, very nice thing. It was not, nothing came shooting out of the screen at you, and it wasn't super deep, so you got kind of weirded out in your brain. It was really quite natural. I mean, I sort of forgot that it was 3D, but it really worked.
I feel bad because I think more and more we're going to see these kinds of performances of. I mean, Andy Serkis deserves at least a little credit. Did he get he was Gollum in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Did he get a nomination for that? I don't think he did.
I don't think he did, but he did a great job on that too.
The Academy doesn't want to give an Oscar nomination or an award to somebody who's not really their body. For instance, Scarlett Johansson, who I think deserved a nomination for her voice work, no nomination, because they're not really. I mean, but they are acting, and more and more you're going to see actors doing this. I mean,
yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. I definitely think he deserves it, especially because I think doing what he did with Gollum and with Caesar is more physically demanding. You or I try to, really behave like a monkey and be down on all fours a lot and stuff. I mean, we would really be hurting.
It's good. It's a good acting job,
It really is. And then on top of that, to emote as effectively as he did, there are some people who say, oh, well, it was more the visual effects guys who should get the credit for this. I disagree. I mean, certainly their work was great, fantastic. But, it was Andy and the other, actors who played the apes that really brought those characters to life.
Yeah. Yeah. And think about it. Not only does he have to act like an ape and act. I mean, he has no lines. Well, maybe he does, actually.
Oh, no, he does.
Yeah, Caesar talks. Yeah.
He does.
So he's got to act. He's got to remember his lines. He's got to hit his mark. And he has to wear this very uncomfortable suit the whole time. I wonder what it's like for the actors working with him. I mean, I guess it's better than working with a green screen because at least they're looking at somebody and reacting. They're
looking at somebody. Yeah, exactly.
We actually want to do a special effects show on my podcast network because I just feel like this is such an interesting area now. I saw a movie. Terrible movie, but it was an interesting premise. I rented it on iTunes last night with Robin Wright, in which I wish I can't remember the name. Was it?
Can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, but she I'll find it. But she plays Robin Wright, and she's given her last contract to digitize her, and at that point she no longer is allowed to act because the movie studio owns her. They own her image. They own her
image.
And she, the contract that she has to negotiate is complicated because she gets to say, "I don't want to do any sci-fi," things like that. But I think we're not so far off from from this kind of situation where an actor is captured and then no longer is needed. The movie studio can say, "Hey, see ya. Thank you for your work. Bye-bye."
We are getting to that point. You've seen the commercials probably. I forget the product now, which tells you something about the effectiveness of the commercial. But, Humphrey Bogart, Marilyn Monroe.
Fred Astaire dancing with
Fred
a
Astaire
vacuum
dancing.
cleaner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, they've already started to do that with dead actors. And so, doing it with live actors. It's
very constrained with because they have to use existing footage of actors who are no longer with us, and that means they can only do certain things. I mean, the ideal, and I think we may be farther off than I hope we're farther off than we think. The ideal would be to get an actor captured entirely, all their facial expressions, emotions, and movements, and then synthesize a new performance from what's in the computer.
That's probably where we're headed, and it kind of reminds
Tom Hanks in Polar Express is an example of this, and it was creepy. It didn't work, right? It was creepy.
Well, yes, and that's part of the problem is when all of these computer-generated movies and images, they all look great except when you try to do a human face.
Monkeys is fine. Don't do a human.
Monkeys seem to be fine, but we're so...
All the movies are going to be Humphrey Bogart plays a chimpanzee. That's the future. A grim future indeed.
Right there.
Yeah.
We are so attuned as humans to faces. If you look at any animated movie recently,
we're really good at
the trees and the flowers and everything are almost photorealistic.
Scott Wilkinson, avsforum.com, home theater geek guru. Thank you for joining us. We're out of time. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The Congress was the name of that movie. Terrible movie. I bought it because I love Robin Wright. And she's playing herself, which is quite you didn't hear the music?
I didn't at all. Sorry.
You don't. Are you hearing my voice now?
I am. Yeah.
All right. Well, I
just didn't hear the music.
Okay.
And I even had my timer on, but it was 20 seconds too late. Okay. So I didn't think we were done yet. So sorry.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
I don't know how I'm going to solve this though. You gotta hear the music because otherwise I have to do that, which is ugly, and people blame.
You have to cut me off, right?
People blame me.
No, not your fault.
Oh, yeah, no, they do. Not you, I know, but... No, he didn't hear it. I don't know why he's not hearing it. I turned it way up. I don't know. He says he didn't hear it at all.
I didn't until you started saying,
Until I cut you off.
Until you cut me off. Yeah.
All yours, Scotty.
Thank you so very much. So, hey, everybody. Glad to be here, as always. iLover asks... Or asked Leo, actually, does Sharknado 2 have good special effects? I never saw Sharknado 1. It just seems so ridiculous. And yet it got a cult following. It's something about it appealed to people. I guess, it's one of those it's so bad it's good thing. So now there's Sharknado 2, which is pretty strange. Anyway, hey, Extum, Sybil, the Sue the Writer. So nice to see you, Web 5160. All very happy to see you all. Yeah, the Sue the Writer. You have it. You have to see it. It is so bad, it's good. I guess that's like Plan 9 from Outer Space. That's the classic one, I think. That's so bad, it's so good. Hey, Lawn Dog, how you doing? I was amazed when Leo played that new Fire phone and how bad it sounded. Wow. The M8, as he played also, is really fantastic. And how they could get that so wrong. They're expecting people to listen on headphones and earbuds and stuff, so presumably that will be better. Anyway, so Web 5411 says Tremors was really good. I'm not into horror at all or blood and gore. Not me. Hamster Hurricane from Ed. Yeah, there's a movie for you. I like it. I was gonna, we got talking about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is fine with me. It's a great movie. And I was gonna say, and didn't have time, that it also was mixed with a Dolby Atmos soundtrack, and that is something that is worth seeking out if you can. If you have a Dolby Atmos theater near you, and they're still playing Dawn of the Planet of the Apes in Dolby Atmos, go see it that way, because they use Dolby Atmos in a very nice way. It becomes ambient. There are scenes where you're standing on the forest floor and there are apes in the trees and above you, and you hear that, and it's not loud and piercing, but I mean, the monkeys make kind of a high-pitched sounds, but it's not overbearing, and it really places you in that forest beautifully. Really nice. So that's what I definitely recommend if you can see that.
8888 Ask Leo, that's the number. TechGuyLabs.com, that's the website. Good to remember that a website. If you have to remember one thing, that's it. The phone number's on the website. The link to the chat room so you can join our chatters, the kids in the back of the class, throw spitballs, that kind of thing. We also have links to all the previous shows, 1,102 shows total. This is 1103. And for most of the recent shows, audio and video. So you can relive great moments. The Tech Guy. Okay, maybe not. We also break it up. The website's broken up by day, by show, by hour, by question. So you can go right to a question and an answer. We write those down, but you can then watch the audio or watch the video and listen to the audio, and add your comments. Vote the good comments up. Vote the bad comments down. That's very useful too. Always free, no subscription. TechGuyLabs.com. Apple has released, for the first time in a long time, a public beta of its next generation operating system, Yosemite. And we'll talk a little bit about that later in the show, too. I downloaded it and been using it. Very reliable. But there are some caveats before you install it yourself. Still, pretty cool. See, when you give away an operating system, it's no big deal. Why not? You can have it early. Go ahead. Steve in Glendale. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, Steve. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hello, Leo.
Hello, Steve.
Well, I'm a big fan, a regular listener. First time I ever called in, so that's pretty exciting.
Good. Welcome.
And I'm sort of a guy that wants to learn more about tech, but not really, that's why I listen to you.
Well, there you go. There you go. And by osmosis, if nothing else, just have it on in the background. Run it while you sleep. And over.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
So I have this little thing. I have a really nice desktop computer here in my home office. I got a Dell, whatever this is, desktop.
Yeah.
With Windows 7.
Yeah.
Got, all sorts of stuff on it. But I've got a lot of music on here, and I want to be able to. I got great speakers here in my home office, but then if I step out to the dining room, I've got to play my home like nothing, Yeah.
So you are like a lot of people. A lot of people have.
Go ahead.
A lot of people have their media in a central location, whether it's on a single computer or a network-attached storage device, and they'd like media, meaning audio, video, sometimes even photos, to be able to play anywhere else in the house.
Yes, sir.
And that's a very reasonable thing to want to do. A couple of ways to do that.
Yeah, because I was like, put a set of wireless speakers out in the other room, or
I don't recommend that. I don't. It's hard to do that. You can do it, but the quality goes down as you get distant and so forth. My suggestion is something that's not cheap, but it's not prohibitively expensive. It's called Sonos. Have you ever heard of Sonos? S-O-N-O-S.
I think I've heard you mention it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Well, it's because, and by the way, they've never tried, but they've never bought any advertisements or given me any money. So they're getting a free ad, but they get a lot of free ads from me because I love the Sonos system. So they are wireless. The way Sonos will work is they have a variety of speakers. They have little, small, inexpensive, relatively inexpensive Sonos Play 1 speakers. And they sound fairly decent. They have the kind of the middle of the line, a little bit more expensive Play 5 speakers. The number has to do with how many little speaker units there are in each enclosure. If you want stereo, you'll have to get 2 of them. But in your case, you already have great stereo in the living room, right? So
No, my main, I've got a flat screen TV in the living room, and that's pretty much all I really need there. But the dining room is not that much far away, but I like to play music out there.
So you don't have any speakers or anything. You want a way to get speakers out there.
I do.
Okay, so Sonos can work with a variety of situations. I'll describe my setup. It'll give you an idea of the various ways you can set this up. One of the Sonos devices, and they have speakers, they have a subwoofer, they have a sound bar for your TV. You can do a whole home theater system. As I mentioned, they have the Play 1 speakers, the Play 5 speakers, but they also have smaller devices that you hook up to your internet that can bring the content on the internet to any of those speakers. And the whole idea of Sonos is it's whole house audio. Now, you can start slow with a simple setup and slowly work your way up from that. One of the things Sonos brings you is internet radio, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon, Google Music, all of those work on Sonos. But it can also, if you use iTunes, it can pick up your music collection on your computer, because your computer's on the same Wi-Fi. They all have to be on the same Wi-Fi network, and it can play those as well. Or if you don't want to use iTunes, you could use Google Music or Amazon Music. Both of those will allow you to upload, I think, something like 25,000 songs to their collection. When you buy new music, it shows up in that library as well, and all of that will show up on your Sonos. So you have access, I have access to my entire music collection. Plus, I use Google Music, so I can use Google Radio. That's $7.99 a month and so forth. So basically, any kind of music I'd want to listen to, whether it's Pandora, the internet radio stations via TuneIn, my show, my podcasts, and my entire music library, all available. Now, you can hook it up with a device to, if you have an existing stereo, you can hook it up via their bridge to your existing stereo, use your speakers, your sound system. That's awesome. But if you don't have speakers, as you don't in the dining room, you can get a pair. I would suggest a pair of Sonos Play 5s. They're not inexpensive, and you're going to need 2 of them for left-right sound. You can use just 1, but if you want left-right sound, then you'll need 2. One, somewhere, probably next to your router, you need to have a hardwired connection to a Sonos bridge or a Sonos connector, because that's what's going to give you the access to the internet stuff. So you need to buy kind of a kit, and that's where it starts to get a little bit expensive. You need a Connect or a bridge. You need the Play 1, 3, or 5 speakers. You'll need 2 of those for stereo, left and right. Sound quality is very good. For ultimate sound quality, you probably want to use your own speaker system and your own stereo. That can cost a lot more, obviously. It's very expensive. I agree. I think the base speakers are $199. I think it's $99 for a bridge, $399 for an amplified bridge. It adds up. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to think about how much I've spent because I have Sonos now in every room. But you do it slow. I've done it slowly. So my stereo has Sonos connected to it via a bridge. I have one single Sonos in the bathroom. I don't need stereo in the bathroom. The laundry room, I have the less expensive Play 1 because I don't need a lot of great music in the laundry room. But then on the home theater system, I have a sound bar, the Sonos subwoofer, and the surrounds. So it can all add up. But it's not, given what you're getting, I think it's not horribly expensive. I think it's a fairly good choice. They also, and I didn't mention this, you control them either via applications on your desktop, Mac or Windows, or via their Android or iOS applications. So that's kind of nice, too. You can use your phone as a remote control. Sonos used to sell a standalone remote control, and they realized, well, we don't really need to do that. If you want to do it cheap, of course, you can run speaker wire. You can run an amp. I don't recommend just doing a wireless system. There's very few wireless systems that'll give you good audio, and even when they do, if it's a little distant from the original stuff. In fact, it'll end up costing you more to do that. Just go out and get Sonos. I think the sound quality is excellent, even on a single Sonos Play 5. 8888 Ask Leo. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more of your calls. In fact, who's next on the line? John in Murrieta, California. He has a USB issue, and he wants to use his iPad with his USB. Back to home theater guru Scott Wilkinson.
Oh, thank you so very much. Hey, no problem at all. Let's see. I was just talking with the fellow who was wearing the Planet of the Apes suit. We talked with him on the phone when I was up there filling in for you. And oh no, that's not your email. I'm gonna have to look for it. I think I did get it, Logan 5. So I thank you for sending me that very much. Let's see here. Quebirk 90475 asks, have I heard of Dolby of Aroth 11.1 by Barco, and is it like Atmos? And the answer is yes, it's somewhat like Atmos. But whereas Atmos has a bunch of speakers overhead and they can be all addressed individually, Oro has one speaker overhead, or maybe more than one, but they all carry the same signal. It's called the Voice of God channel, and it carries the same signal. Now, unlike Atmos, Oro, A-U-R-O, has 2 rows of surround speakers, a lower row and an upper row, and then this Voice of God channel on the top. And so it gives you a hemispherical sound stage, and I've heard it work very, very well. I've also heard it work not so well, so it's a little less consistent. Also, up until recently, Oro was not what's called object-oriented. Atmos is, and what that means is that the sound mixer while they're making the soundtrack can take an individual object that's making a sound, like a monkey or an airplane or whatever, and pan it around the room and not worry about, well, what channel is it going to be in? It's not channel-based, it's object-based. And so the mixer can say, I want the sound to come from that point. And the Atmos system figures out which speakers that sound needs to come from in order to make it appear as if it's coming from that point. Oro, up till recently, was entirely channel-based, so the mixer had to continue to keep worrying about what channel is it going to come out of. Recently, they've added on object orientation that lets it have some object-based mixing going on, and that has brought it closer to the concept of Atmos. So that was the answer to that question. I don't have Sonos in my house. Janiscu 7 asks. I just did get, I tried to send a message to Leo during that call that Denon just announced a similar system to Sonos called HEOS, H-E-O-S. Home Entertainment Operating System, I believe, is what that stands for, and it might be a bit of a misnomer, but it's a very similar system. Little speaker units that you plug in and wirelessly connect to other speaker units, and they have 3 different sizes. They don't have a sound bar yet or a subwoofer, I don't think, but it's just a new system starting up. It's just another example of the same sort of thing. Colonel Klink says Padre SJ has one in his house. Oh, Mr. Mike has a Seiki 4K TV and still loves it. Well, that's good. As long as hopefully you're letting something else do the upscaling. I forget now. Did you get one of those UVision cables? It's actually an upscaling cable. It's an HDMI cable that upscales 1080p to 4K or UHD, and the processor's in the cable, and it does a much better job. It's made by Seiki, which is really kind of interesting, but it does a much better job than the scaler inside the Seiki TV itself. And Seiki, in fact, acknowledges this. They say, hey, look, we messed up. The scaler inside our TV is not up to par, which is why they made this cable with a chip from a French company called Marseille Networks, which is actually a very good 4K upscaler. And so Seiki said, we're getting panned in the reviews by this for our upscaler, and they're right. So let's build a little $40 cable. I think the list price is $60, but you can get it for $40. HDMI cable that you plug from your Blu-ray player to your TV, or from the HDMI output from your receiver, say, to your TV, that does the upscaling, and then the TV receives a 4K signal, and then it does fine. It works great. So that is the thing to keep in mind when you're talking about the Seiki 4K TVs. The whole issue of a 50-inch TV, Mr. Mike, I forget what size you have, but if it's 50-inch, you have to be sitting pretty close to have it look significantly different from 1080p. I've known several people to start using this TV as a computer monitor. A 50-inch TV 2 feet away, that's going to make some difference. It's going to look really, really nice. So that's one thing people have been doing with it. Surfer Dude asks, have I looked at 3Net yet? The broadcast 3D cable channel? Yes, I have, and I like it. I think it's great. Unfortunately, 3D broadcast is kind of going away. People are sort of abandoning it. Blu-ray is still going to have 3D. Studios are still making 3D movies. Virtually all animated movies are 3D. So, we're still going to have 3D. It's not going away. Mr. Mike, got that Seiki upscaling cable and loves it, and rightly so. I think that's the right way to go. Robbie says, "What's your thought on the size for a 4K monitor? They seem to be going pretty small." I don't know. I don't follow computer monitors very much, particularly. All I know is that people are using the 50-inch Seiki and so on as a computer monitor. And in that application, I think it works very well. iBookery says, wonderful. I'll be looking forward to 3D glasses sliding off my prescription glasses in the near future. Oh, we're not ready to go quite yet. Scissor Fight asks, would that be an okay monitor for video editing? Yes, I believe it would. I don't think they're using it really in professional editing studios, but for a weekend warrior, somebody with a 4K camera, video camera, who's shooting their own stuff, as long as you're upscaling it before it gets there, or maybe you're shooting in native 4K and processing in native 4K, sending it in native 4K, I think it's going to look really good.
8888 Ask Leo. John on the line from Murrieta, California. Our next caller. Hi, John.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for calling. What can I do for you?
Good. Well, I tried calling a few weeks ago, got in too close to 2 o'clock, and I had a Apple problem or an iTunes problem. Since then, I went up and bought a Mini Mac and solved my iTunes problems, but now I have another question for you.
We feel like if we keep you on hold long enough, you'll solve your own problem.
We did.
I'm sorry about that. Well, I'm glad you got in this time. What can I do for you?
Good. Well, my Mini Mac is inside my desk, and then I just have my monitor on the outside. I wanted to hook a USB up, a USB hub, so I bought a non-powered one, and the phone works, the drive works, everything works except the iPad charging. So I went out and bought a powered USB hub, and I have the same problem. It will not charge the iPad mini, won't charge the iPad, but everything else works fine. So I guess my question is how can I charge my iPads through the USB hub, and what does a powered USB hub even have to do with anything?
Has everything to do with it. So here's the first thing. Your iPad needs 10 watts. And this is, we talk about this a lot. It's the kind of thing that is obscure because you can't tell if you look at a charger what its wattage is unless you read the fine print. All USB ports, almost all USB ports have 5 volts. Some have 5.2.
Right.
And then it's the amperage that varies. And what Apple did with the iPad is they broke the standard. The standard USB voltage, or I should say amperage, on older machines was lower. They started on the newer Macs, and your Mac Mini has this, to offer 2 amp ports so that you get the 10 watts out of the port. So older Macs and a lot of PCs won't charge an iPad. USB hubs, same problem, because they don't expect 10 watts. They don't offer 10 watts. They're usually lower amperage. And it's Apple's fault. They broke the spec, but they knew they had to in order to power this big device, to charge this big device. So it will work fine, and I think you know this, if you plug your lightning cable into the back of the Mac Mini, that'll charge all your iPads.
It works perfectly.
Yeah. I can't remember what the standard is on USB, whether it was half an amp or 900 amps, 0.9 amps, but it wasn't 2 amps. So, you probably, in fact, I know you can find powered USB hubs that offer 10 watts, but you're going to have to look for them specifically because it's not the USB standard.
Okay, good.
So that's all. You just need 10 watts. Lately, Apple's chargers have been more than that. They've been like 5.2 by 2.5 or something. They've increased it to 11 watts. So if you have a late model Air or you're planning to get newer iPads, you never know. Apple could change it again. But for now, look for an 11-watt charger. You should be okay.
11 watts.
By the way, there's an advantage to that, which is that your phone will charge faster. A lot of things will charge faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I was.
That's why it doesn't work. It's just not a standard. Apple has its own standard. If you see one that says, designed for Apple, designed for Mac, or you can read the fine print on it and see how much wattage it puts out, that'll help you choose the right one. This is a very common issue. And I'm going to see if I can do this. I have to think back to my ham technician license. Watts equals volts times amps. It's Ohm's law, right? Remember that? Nod. You okay? I have my supporters here who are going to help me get this right. So think of it. You can often think of it as a water pipe, and the diameter of the water pipe, of course, affects how much water can flow through it. And also how much water pressure there is can affect how much water flows through. Well, electrons are very much like that. So the amperage is the diameter of the pipe, is that right? And the volts are the flow. I can never remember which is which. But the total is the amount of water you're getting at the other end. So you need a fat enough pipe with enough water pressure to give you the amount of water you need. Similarly with electronics, you need the, and don't mix water and electricity, by the way. But similarly with electronics, you need both enough volts. USB is pretty straightforward because it's 5 volts. That's the standard. Nobody's changed that for a while, although I guess Apple is starting to change that too. And then you need sufficient amps. You multiply the two together. Yeah, the new iPad charger is now 12 watts. 12 watts. So, yeah, look for 12 watts. And resistance is sludge in the pipe. Okay. Now I think we've stretched this metaphor too far. Don in Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. This is Don.
Hi, Don.
Pleasure to speak with you. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Nice to talk to you.
My question is regarding a Windows phone that I have.
Yeah.
It uses 7.8, and I happened to see an article talking about the support for it, including security updates being phased out pretty soon. And I went to the Microsoft Product Lifecycle search page, and sure enough, for Windows Phone 7.8, they say they support it for 18 months, including security updates from the start date, unlike the Windows Phone 8 and 8.1, which are supported for 36 months. So this is running out on September 9th of this year, the security updates.
You probably, by the way, unlike a desktop, you don't get very many updates, do you?
No.
No. And pretty much there aren't any security updates. So they're few and far between. Most of these updates are for reliability, stability, and features, not so much security. So what I'm saying to you is, yes, you're not using the latest, greatest Windows Phone. Microsoft would like you to use Windows Phone 8.1. But if you're happy with the features of 7.8, don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not thrilled with it, so I'm probably going to switch to Apple or Android. I am concerned about security in general. Which do you feel in general would be more secure? My guess would be the iPhone.
Well, yes, I would say iPhone, although a security researcher at a hacker conference last week kind of blew the lid off of the iPhone by pointing out some errors or flaws or perhaps intentional backdoors in the way the iPhone works. It is, however, I think, secure. Apple has paid a lot of attention to security in the design of the iPhone, doing some very interesting things. But as is often the case, security and convenience are a trade-off. So, as you probably know, the more secure something is, the less convenient it is. You have to enter passwords and second-factor authentication, and you have to jump through hoops. Well, it's more secure, but it's also less convenient. So, for example, Apple only encrypts your phone when it's off. As soon as you turn on the phone and you enter in the password, it's unencrypted, and even when the screen locks, and this is deceptive because you say, but I still have to enter my code, it's not encrypted. It stays unencrypted the entire time the phone's on. Once you enter that unlock code once, it remains unencrypted. This is something that's maybe not intuitive, but Apple does it for obvious reasons. You won't be able to receive text messages while it's encrypted. A lot of things don't, even if the phone screen is locked, don't work. So it is, anybody who really thought about it, and this does not include me, I just figured, oh, I'm sure it's locked once its screen lock is on. So that's something important to remember. If you lose your phone and it is on, and if the thief can get to it before it's powered down, then he may be able to get your data off of it, thief or law enforcement. But these things are minor, really, compared to the overall thrust of security. I think you're right, the iPhone is the current king of security. I guess it depends what you mean by security. You know, if you mean, well, let's take a break and we'll talk more about it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're talking about phone security, and this is actually a good topic, so I want to spend a little more time with Don in Los Angeles. He is a little worried because security updates aren't going to continue on his old Windows 7.8 phone. But what do you mean by security? I mean, I think there's a couple of kinds of security. There's privacy from law enforcement or snoops. And there's security in the sense of I don't want bad guys to be able to put malware on my phone. Which of those are you more worried about, or is it both?
No, the bad guys with malware and getting access, say, to my email accounts.
So here's the good news. Smartphones in general are so much safer than desktop computers because they came later in the game. By the time smartphones took off, whether it's Windows Phone, Android, or Apple, in the late 2000s, we all knew about malware. And everybody was paranoid about smartphones because think about it. This is always on the internet, always connected. Could be a real valuable target to somebody who wants to get some money out of you in a lot of different ways. So the phone companies they were designing these phones for and the companies themselves that were designing the operating systems and the hardware paid a lot of attention to security. And in general, smartphones are very secure, so much so than your desktop. You probably have heard about malware on Android, and there's even been malware on the Mac, on the iPhone, but never really a problem. Always caught quickly, killed immediately. You'd have to be kind of dumb to have a problem. You'd either have to jailbreak your iPhone and then go to shady stores. That's the whole point of jailbreaking an iPhone, is to go to shady stores to buy stuff. On Android, people who fell for the Russian company making 15 free wallpapers for your desktop, those are the guys who got bit by malware. If you buy it from the Apple Store, you buy it from the Google Play Store, you pay attention. You buy reputable products from big name companies. You're not at risk. You're not at risk. Now, That's malware. Privacy, which you kind of alluded to privacy too, because you don't want anybody to get, for instance, your email password. That's somewhat the same as it is on a desktop computer. Maybe even a worse situation. For instance, if your email client doesn't encrypt the password as it's sending it to your email provider, well, then it's floating out over the Wi-Fi. It's not such a problem on the phone networks, but floating out on the Wi-Fi, that could be a security flaw. Again, though, I think phones are much more secure these days than desktops or laptops. So I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, we pay a lot of attention now to protecting yourself from government snoops. That's a different matter. All of the wireless carriers, Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, have portals for law enforcement where law enforcement can go and for a small fee, just a few bucks, without a warrant, do something called a pen register, which is a request for information about your location, for instance. They don't need a warrant to do that. It's easy for them to do. It's inexpensive, and it happens a lot. Useful, you know, if you got, you know, you disappeared and you had a smartphone, they could find you. I don't think that's too much of a problem. They can also get metadata about who you're calling, not the content of the calls, but just who you're calling and when. All of this without warrants. We know that there are devices that can be connected to your phone and just take all the data off of it. And iPhone 2 can just take all the data off of it. The good news is the Supreme Court just a few weeks ago ruled that that was illegal without a warrant. So up till now, it's been fairly routine for law enforcement all over the country, if you get pulled over for, let's say, a traffic stop, to take your phone and pull all the data off of it. The Supreme Court said, you can't do that. You need a warrant. Thank goodness. That's right. That's correct. So some of this is just changing the laws, making sure. But if you think about it, that phone you're carrying in your pocket, easily lost, easily borrowed, has almost everything on it. So it's really important to have a screen lock on it, understanding that that doesn't encrypt the data, but definitely use a screen lock. I still think most people, more than half, walk around without a screen lock. They just open up the phone and start dialing because it's inconvenient. But that means it's also very convenient for a bad guy once they get your phone to get your stuff off of it. So put a screen lock on it. Turn on encryption. Apple's already encrypted by default. Android, you have to explicitly turn it on. And be careful. Don't lose the thing. We know of, we're learning of some issues with the iPhone. I think if you had a choice, all other things being equal, you doing everything you can, the iPhone is more secure than Android. But I think both are fairly safe. The bigger issue is law enforcement getting your phone and getting stuff off of it. There's a waiting list to Apple. Apple can get your stuff off an encrypted iPhone, but it takes them a long time. So there's a waiting list at Apple for law enforcement that has sent iPhones to Apple or wants to send iPhones to Apple to get data off of. It takes months now. That's how long the waiting list is. They want your stuff. Don, use an iPhone. I think you'll be all right. I personally think that all of them are close enough that it doesn't really matter. Mitch, Burbank, California. You're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
I love you, Leo Laporte.
Oh, my gosh. A little man love. I love you back.
Thank you so much. I do voiceover work here in L.A., and I built a home.
I thought you might.
I'm very happy with this studio.
It's like the voice of God just said he loved me. I love you, Leo Laporte.
This whole thing.
What do you do? Do you anything we would know? Like movies? Do you do movies? You sound like you might do movies.
I'm actually the voice of Ford Motor Company National that are running spots all over the country.
Oh, let me hear it just a little bit.
It's the Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event.
Oh, I love it.
I'm also on a bunch of video games, actually. I played Leg Atlantis on Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah, he's the main bad guy you got to kill at the end.
Oh, that's great. Now, do you change it around a little bit? I mean, you don't want the Ford guy to be being a bad guy in Fallout Las Vegas.
No, each role, because when you're doing commercial work, you're just an announcer.
It's an
basically.
actor. You're an actor, yeah.
And when you're doing the video games, you really have to be an actor.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on in those games. But no, everything requires something different with video games.
That's a boy. I tell you, that's a great gig. Though. What fun, huh?
Guild Wars 2. I play Everhart. I'm Ironclad on The Incredible Hulk. I play the Ice God on Thor. I was the Swordsman in the Path of Neo, Matrix. I'm on a bunch of different video games. I do all kinds of stuff.
Fun. How does that work? Do you go in and they give you a script of a lot of just short little things and you just read them?
Yeah, with the video games, you go in and you're handed what looks like about a 1-inch thick pamphlet, and it's got probably 15 or 20 lines on each page. And so you just go down one at a time, and the booth director will say, okay, now he's nervous, but he's not afraid.
Mitch, we're going to have to pause for a word from our sponsors, but if you'll hang on, we'll be right back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're talking to one of the darkest voices in the business, Mitch in Burbank. Hi, Mitch.
Thanks for taking the call. Yeah.
We'll get to Johnny Jett in just a little bit. So you're a voiceover guy. Do you do work out of your home?
Yeah, pretty much exclusively from my house.
Isn't that not? You have an ISDN line, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. When I moved out here, I used to be in Miami radio for years, and when I moved out here, I brought a wife, kids, a dog, just with the profits from the sale of the house.
Isn't that nice?
And I was voicing different radio stations around the country, so the ISDN line was the only way I could make money. The second I got into town.
Right.
Now, I'm using it every single day.
Because you don't have to go to you'd have to go to a studio, get up, put on clothes, get in a car, drive to a studio. Now you just wear your jammies to your office. You got the mic set up.
I wouldn't say that because, in order to be a professional, you have to feel like one. So if I was sitting up there in my pajamas, it just wouldn't feel right. So I get up, I take a shower, I get dressed.
Yeah.
Just as if I'm going to a studio.
I used to do this show from my house, and I found it was terrible because no energy because I just got up, and so we actually rented a office so that I would actually feel like I was going to work. It does. It affects human psychology. Yeah, a home gym. That's good.
You either work out too much or too little.
Yeah. I'm on the too little side on that one.
It's funny with ISDN back in 2001, right after 9/11, they had me voice the Miss America pageant that was going on in New York.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to fly people out because obviously the scare. So I sat in my studio in Burbank with Mix Minus on ISDN, voicing the Miss America pageant live to the world. It was pretty bizarre.
That is amazing. What the technology? So what can I do to help?
Well, listen, like I said, my studio I love it. I'm very happy with it. The only chink in the armor is I'm running a 2004 G5.
Oh, it's time to update that.
Well, over the years, I've replaced the hard drive and video card and the optical drive, and it works really well. The only problem I have with it is fan noise.
Well, yeah.
It's embarrassing, when you're in the middle of a session. Goes, did you just turn a fan on? And I'm like, hold on, let me turn off my email. So I'm looking at the Mac Pro in that it has almost no fan.
It's silent. It does have a fan. I have one. It has a big fan. Bigger is better on fan noise. The larger the fan, the slower it can rotate to move the same amount of air. And it's designed as a column to draw the fan draws air in from the bottom. It goes up through the column and comes out the top. And it is, I can vouch for it, very quiet. But I'm also sitting next to an iMac right now, one of the late model iMacs, and I don't think you hear that either.
Yeah, that's the question. I'm really, other than normal computing where you're going online and checking your email, I'm really just running Digital Performer, and all I'm doing is ever recording is a mono signal converting to.
So you don't need a lot of horsepower. You could probably even use a Mac Mini, which I don't think has a fan at all. Does a Mac Mini have a fan, chat room? I don't think it has a fan at all. Really? And so the Mac Pro you have is known to be noisy. It also has another disadvantage. There's something you can't upgrade, the G5 processor. And Apple's moved away from these PowerPC processors to Intel. So you can't put the newest operating systems on your computer. And I think that's something else that...
The only upside is that I'm virtually invisible online.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to worry about
hacking a G5.
Nobody's going to hack a G5. You're absolutely
right. No, it's not really. So do you think I'd be, on a money level? I mean, I can spend...
Get an iMac. It's all you need. Because remember, once you buy the Mac Pro for $3,000, you still have to buy a monitor for another $1,000. So that's a very pricey purchase, whereas a $1,299 iMac, or if you want to get a bigger screen, a $1,500 iMac is going to be, I don't even know if this has fans. It's very quiet. Certainly,
yeah, I was reading online that there is some fan noise with the iMac, and I don't mind some. I mean, compared to what I'm going through right now,
Let's listen. I have my iMac here. I'm listening. I don't. Yeah, I guess there would be. How close is the computer to your microphone?
Right now, I sit at the desk looking at the computer, and the tower is just to the left of me on the floor. I know that's an option, is to get an extension and putting it in another room.
Yeah, you could do that.
It's time, though. It's time. I feel like I'm like a dinosaur with this whole thing.
No, I think you should get the new iMac. I think it's more than quiet enough. What you've got is really, really noisy.
Yeah, it really is.
And this will be much faster, much better. I think you'll be better off upgrading. And I don't think you need a Mac Pro. The iMac is as quiet as the Mac Pro. Let's put it that way.
Beautiful. That's all I wanted to hear. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, sir. Have a wonderful day. I once went to a radio convention, a Gavin convention. Remember Gavin? Went to a Gavin convention, a bunch of radio announcers. And all of them talked like this. Hi, how are you? I'm great. I'm working at Q94 now. Oh, that's great. I'm working at the big one. Oh, that's wonderful. Good to hear you. It's like they were showing off. Hi, I'm Leo Laporte. I can't say what I want to say.
What did all the girls sound like?
They all sound like this.
They were breathier.
I'm Dusty Rhodes, the Dark Knight Angel, holding down the fort at 3 a.m. I don't know why. We have to sound like that. For years, I fought off this announcery thing that happens to you because you don't sound normal. And you put a microphone and headphones on me, I'm going to start talking like this. There's nothing I can do about it. Hey, a beautiful Saturday afternoon to you. 56 degrees in the city. More of Kenny G coming up right after this. I can't help it.
There was an afternoon guy that always said the weather was going to be delightful.
Delightful.
And I was like, I don't think I ever hear anyone use delightful, normally in a sentence to describe anything. But this guy, every day, in a word, delightful.
In a world where the sun don't shine. Hey, look who's here. It's Mr. Johnny Jet, the travel guru. Johnny, because we ate into your segment a little bit, we'll give you a little extra time on the other end of the...
No problem. I'm just chatting with people in the chat room.
Oh, they love you. Johnny Jet, at Johnny Jet on Twitter, on Instagram, and, of course, JohnnyJet.com on the web is our travel guru. Uses modern technology to improve his travels. My son texted me. He said, I want to go. He's going to a festival, a rock festival in San Francisco called Outside Lands. And he said, there's no hotels in the entire city.
Airbnb.
You know what? That's what I was going to tell him. Airbnb. Or what else? BRBO?
VR. Sorry. V is in Victor. Or you can do homeaway.com.
Well, then he told me, we want to find a hotel room where 11 guys can stay.
You got to rent a house. Good luck renting a house. Because if I was renting my house, I wouldn't be renting.
Just what you want.
Good luck.
Can he borrow your futon, Heather? Would you mind?
Did you hear about the guy, by the way, on Airbnb who rented a house for 30 days in California and they can't kick him out?
I like it here. I'm not leaving.
Because the California laws,
what?
He's allowed to stay up to 6 months without pay.
What? They can't evict
him. It's a big thing in the news this week. So that you got to be careful about renting 30 days or more.
So once it's 30 days, that kicks in
California.
What is wrong with this state? Are you telling me that if you can convince somebody to let you stay in their place for 30 days, you could stay there for 6 months?
Well,
what is that? What kind of law is that?
Like, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
What kind of law is that?
You don't have to pay a dime, and they can't cut the electricity. They can't do anything.
Who made that law?
That's
nutty.
Big time.
All you have to do is stay there 30 days, and you'll never have to leave.
Yes.
I like Airbnb in concept, but it's not like staying in a hotel. You're staying in somebody's place, and so you got to be a little bit kind of cognizant of that. Hey, Johnny, hang on. We're going to take a break, and then Johnny will have his website of the week, his app of the week, and more. And we'll play Where in the World is Johnny Jet? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's bizarre. I guess because now you're a tenant. So tenants' rights kick in. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tenants' rights are a little... Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because she was living there for 30 days?
Yeah. She won't leave. They don't want her to be a nanny anymore. That's right. And actually, she quit.
She quit, but they can't kick her out of the pool house.
Because I quit, but I'm not leaving.
Well, they didn't write the law very well. You know, they didn't write the law very well. They need to write the law well better. Yeah. If you've been paying rent for a certain amount of... I understand. You know, what is... Because it takes 6 months to do eviction?
Yeah, it takes a long time.
Well, you know, Lisa and I are thinking about buying some property to rent, you know, as income property. I don't know if I want to do that. That's scary.
It is scary.
Yeah. But in Texas, you're allowed to shoot them if they stay there. In Texas, you could take your shotgun and say, 31 days they're here, you get out. Florida, it's like, I'm defending myself, you're dead.
That's right. Hey.
Texas and Georgia.
Shotgun foreclosure. There's actually a term, shotgun foreclosure.
So I don't know if you want to talk about this on the radio at all, but you know, a lot of people are asking about, you know, all the 3 different crashes. If people are afraid to fly.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about that. That's fine. I don't know. I think California has a goodly number of Republicans and Democrats. I don't think we're a single-party state by any means. I don't know what's going on in Sacramento. It's actually, you know what it is? I think partly is that it's a state where the governor doesn't have very much power. The legislature is scared to death. So what they just do is they say, well, just have a referendum. Let the people vote on it. And then that's really screwed up because our referendum process, you know, I mean, God, you can vote on anything.
Well, the word joke is entitlement state. This is an
entitlement. Yeah, it's an entitlement state. I think that's probably true. Unless you're mentally ill or there are some issues. So Johnny, yeah, let's talk about plane crashes.
All right.
What the hell?
This morning I did the Today Show this morning.
You did?
I did it on there was actually the zip line accident in Mexico. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh,
this guy.
No. What happened?
Well, no, he's in a coma. I mean,
he hit the tree or he fell?
No. There was a crosswind. It was windy, and when he came in, he hit. I guess it was a wall. I don't know too much on that story. I mean, they just had me commenting about what
to do when you travel
are $7,000 a day.
Oh, wow!
And so they had me talk about travel insurance.
Yeah. Well, that's a good topic, actually.
Yeah. So.
And that's why I got a platinum card so that I can get helicoptered out when I hit a wall.
Yes. My family learned that.
And we can talk about that too.
We went ziplining in Belize, Henry and I, and it was fine. It was fun, but I thought, you know, I bet their laws, the safety laws are probably not.
That was the other question they asked me. How can you tell that these adventure outfitters are safe overseas?
I wouldn't bungee jump in Mexico. I think that's asking for trouble. On the other hand, we ziplined just up the road a piece about a month ago. It was fun. Scary.
I've done ziplining in 4 different countries.
$10,000. Wow. Was that a medevac, Heather, or?
Yeah, the little jet, like a private jet. Unfreaking believable.
Yeah, that's why I got the platinum cards when we went to Egypt. I thought I really want to be able to evac.
It's difficult.
Johnny Jett's still here. He is our travel guru, and each week he joins us with a website, an app. But, you know, this week I think we probably should talk. It's kind of grim, but we should talk a little bit about the safety of air travel.
Yep, 3 plane crashes in a week.
Yeah, and the U.S. State Department saying you can't, you know, to Delta and others, you can't. Delta said, we're not going to fly to Israel. I don't know if that's still on.
That's been lifted. That was a 24. Actually, I think they made it into a 48-hour ban.
Yeah.
A Toronto Air Canada flight circled around Tel Aviv 2 days ago because there was some bombs. Some people say it's political. I don't think it is.
Should we worry? I mean, it seems to me, and you've said this many times, that air travel's safer than ever.
Well, I just tweeted a story from actually NBC, Mashable, saying this is still the safest year in air travel.
Yeah.
Regardless. And this is the safest mode of transportation there is. And believe me, I fly a lot, as you know. And when I hear about these crashes, they freak me out, especially the MH370 that hasn't been found yet. We have no idea where it is.
They never did find that, did they?
No, and that that's in the back of my head. And then I'm actually doing a similar route that MH17 just did in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And you can bet that I'm going to be thinking about it the whole time. But you still have to realize it is safer to fly than it is to drive to the airport.
Right.
It's much safer.
Right.
And
so you should fly with some. There are a lot of fearful flyers. I understand, because you are hurtling through the air at 600 miles or whatever, 500 miles an hour. It's 5 miles above the earth. It's I can understand why people are a little nervous about that. I try not to think about that when I'm flying.
I used to be afraid to fly. You could not get me on a plane between the ages of 18 and 21.
Yeah.
And I was actually afraid to leave the house at some point. But I got over my fear, and now I travel all the time. But these incidents do bring it up, and I do think about it. So, yeah. But you just have to realize that it is safer to fly than it is to drive, and even to you have a better chance of dying slipping in your bathtub or shower than you do in a plane crash.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of things, getting eaten by a shark, hit by lightning. I mean, yeah. Good. So don't be afeared to travel. I saw you on the Today Show this morning. Congratulations. Are you now going to be like Mr. Today Show and leave us in the dust?
Oh, I would never leave you, Leo. They call me once in a while to comment on a story, and this one was about a ziplining accident in Mexico, where the guy had an accident, hit a wall, in a coma.
Oh.
The hospital in Mexico wouldn't operate on him until they gave him money up front.
Oh, wow.
Which is really sketchy. And I said, one of the questions they asked me was, how can you tell that an adventure outfitter is safe in foreign countries?
How can you tell?
Well, and actually I've ziplined in 4 different countries: South Africa, Costa Rica, which is where it was invented, Belize, and I'm not even sure where else. Actually, I did it in Hawaii, which I guess counts as countries.
I've ziplined a few times, Belize, and here in California. And you have to wonder if you're in Belize or somewhere what the safety rules are and whether they, have the same attention to safety as
the big way you can tell if it's safe is if a major cruise line or hotel chain has endorsed it. Because if they have, then it's established, they've done their inspections, it's fully licensed, it's insured. So you can bet that the odds are in your favor. But obviously there's no guarantees, which is why you're signing that waiver before you go on.
Yeah, they tell you this is a dangerous activity. You could die.
It says it could result in death.
Yeah.
I mean, it's scary when you sign those things.
Yeah.
But I actually called because they also wanted to know about travel insurance, and you need to buy travel insurance before you go.
Can you get medical insurance?
You can, and but I was wondering if ziplining was left out. So I called insuremytrip.com, which is one of the, it has like 30 different travel companies in there, insurers. It's not just, they're not selling their insurance. They're kind of like the kayak of travel insurance.
Okay.
So I called up. I didn't tell them who I was. And I'm going to Mexico next month. And I said, hey, I'm going to Mexico. Gave them the dates. And I said, if I want to do zip lining, how much will it cost me for travel insurance? And it was $50 for a $50,000 policy.
Oh, that's not bad.
Or $64 for a $100,000 policy. And you keep going up. And it all includes medical evacuation, which is important, which you want to know. But before you get travel insurance, you have to read the fine print or make sure that it covers that stuff. So zip lining, it was covered, but it was not. But scuba diving without a dive master was not.
I was going to say, because more dangerous probably than anything is scuba diving.
And also,
a lot of people scuba dive on vacation. I do. I always do. I love scuba diving.
I was surprised about that. But also skydiving is not covered, which you can understand, and which I would not do. And mountaineering was not covered.
Yeah. So do read those policies. But if you step on, and this happens, you step on a jellyfish, and your foot swells up, and you want to get medevac to a U.S. hospital, they'll cover something like that, I imagine.
Well, it all depends on the
Read
policy.
the fine print. And then plan carefully.
The hospital of your choice.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, hey, Johnny Jet's the best. Go to Johnny.
Some more, or we gotta go?
We gotta go. I'm sorry. JohnnyJet.com is the website. Okay, give us a. We got to do the app. We got to do the website. Give us something.
Well, I do a quick app. So GoGoBot. Have you heard of GoGoBot?
No, I like the name though.
This is a website and an app. So if you're planning a vacation and you like to do research, you don't know where to go, instead of going to like TripAdvisor and reading reviews, you can go on here and you can ask a question. And so I went to Alberta, Canada 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I went on and I said, hey, I'm going to Alberta, Canada for my first time. What should I do? And then you can also tweet it out, that question, on your Facebook or Twitter. And I have a lot of friends, so I was getting a lot of answers from them, but I was also getting answers from people I did not know. And what's nice about it is that they're not really strangers, because you can read their profile, you can see what their likes are.
So it's not like TripAdvisor, where it's an aggregation of reviews. It's one individual responding to you.
Exactly. And they call these tribes, which is a different category. So it could be budget travelers, luxury travelers is a tribe.
Oh, I see. So there's luxury tribe, backpackers tribe, art and design lovers. Oh, this is kind of neat.
Yeah, and they have an app which is cool on the go, where if I'm in a restaurant, I just hit the camera, I take a picture, and then I can quickly write a postcard saying, hey, come to this restaurant or stay away from this restaurant, and show a photo.
I think this is great. Travelers need to stick together.
Hey.
Yeah. JohnnyJet.com.
Next week I'll give you another one.
You're the best, Johnny. Where are you leaving town, or you're just gonna stay home for a while?
I'm actually leaving town for a while. So actually I'm going to be on the go next weekend, but hopefully I'll be able to call in, but I'll be at a different location. And this just came in. I'm about to send a deals newsletter, but Turkish Airlines is going to start flying San Francisco to Istanbul in April, and they're having a nonstop fare round trip for $6.99 as an introductory fare.
I love Istanbul. What a great city.
It's a good price to go from San Francisco
to Europe. Let's just go for a couple of weeks to Istanbul. It's cheap. Istanbul's not Constantinople, by the way. Joe Nall is a airline captain at Hawaiian Air. He was going to try to fly the flight that we took to go to Hawaii, but he couldn't get transferred. But he did send me a little airplane.
I saw your segment on that.
Isn't that cool?
I have a bunch of them over my shoulder.
I see them. Do you collect those?
Some of these airlines send them to me once in a while.
That's nice. I love that.
I got a Boeing one, so they're all planes I've been on.
I have to say, for somebody who was afraid of travel, afraid of flying, you have now got more frequent flyer miles than many heads of state. Thank you, Johnny Jet. JohnnyJet.com. We'll talk to you next week, okay?
Take care.
Safe travels. Bye-bye, Johnny.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about computers and the internet and smartphones and home theater, digital photography, anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. You'll be saying hello to Heather Hammond, the phone ranger. She'll get you on the air here, and we can talk about tech, like Raymond in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's next. Hi, Raymond. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo.
Hey, Raymond.
It's great to talk to you.
Well, it's great to talk to you. What can I do for you?
Well, I have a iMac.
Okay.
And I've had it for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And when you download programs to it, it always wants to put it in the internal hard drive.
Yeah, it wants to put it in the systems applications folder. That's the normal place. But the nice thing about a Mac is you can put apps anywhere you want.
Well, how do you do that?
Well, one thing you could do is just drag it there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
An application?
Yeah, what I would do, you want to run those installers, right? Because they put other stuff in other places. They put stuff, for instance, in the application support folder often, preferences, things like that. So you want to let it do that. But with a Mac, you can almost always move the file in the applications folder, which is the bulk of the... I presume you don't want to put there because you're running out of space, right?
Right.
Yeah. You could take anything in the applications folder and put it somewhere else. Do you have a second drive that you use, or how does this work?
I have a 2 terabyte external hard drive.
All right. So one thing you might want to do or think about is moving your home folder to the external hard drive. Your home folder is where all your data goes, and it has a dedicated application folder that's just your applications. But if you move your home folder, that may save you a lot of space. I do that on a lot of my computers nowadays, because these days when you buy a Mac or a PC, often you have a small internal drive because we want them to be fast, so we buy these SSDs. But the solid-state drives are expensive, and so they're usually smaller. So for instance, on many of my Mac Pro, I have, I think, 128 gigabyte or 256 gigabyte internal drive. I want to let that just be my operating system and my applications, and then I have an external drive, and I've made that be my home folder. And it's a little tricky to do that on the Mac, but there is a setting that you can do. You have to go into the system preference pane as an administrator. Yeah. Users and groups, and then it's kind of weird, but if you option click your login, you'll see that you can change some advanced settings. So control click or option click or right click, whatever it is, you can change some settings, and one of those settings is where the home folder lives. So start by doing that. I would make a copy of your home folder onto your external drive, and making that, telling the operating system now that this is my home folder. And once you do that, then you can put applications, if you wish. You could still put applications on that external drive by moving them into the home folder. It really works well. So again, it's the user and groups control or system preference pane. Right-click or command-click on your name, select advanced options, and then among other things, you're going to see in the advanced options where the home directory is. And you can make that be anywhere else, including your external drive.
Well, thank you. I'll try that.
That'll save you a lot of space.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks for listening. In Windows, it's the same thing. In fact, I really like the idea. It seems more hygienic, if you will, to have your operating. In Windows, you don't have much choice. Your applications really need to be in the applications folder. Programs and I think it's programs and files. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a programs folder, and you really, for Windows, and that's going to pretty much be on the same drive as the Windows drive is, which is going to be the C drive. But you don't have to put your data there. So I almost always, when I set up a Windows machine, have a C drive and a D drive. D is easy to remember, D for data, and I make sure that my home folder is on the D drive. That way, when I save documents or whatever, it saves it to the D drive, a separate drive. There are a couple of advantages to that. One, when you upgrade the operating system, you're not touching the D drive. You're just changing the C drive. That's a good thing. Plus, it's easier to back up. You just say, I'm back up the D drive because that's my data. So it's always, I think, a good idea. It's not required. In fact, if it were, it would be a little bit easier to do. They don't make it that easy to do either on Mac or Windows. But I think it's a great idea to separate your applications and Windows, or applications and operating system, from your data. And it's pretty easy to do on Windows and Mac. You just have to find the right place to change the setting. Of course, most of the growth happens on, well, I guess if you download a lot of games, you could start filling up that applications folder. But most of the growth for me is on my data, pictures and music and all that stuff. Esther is in Big Bear, California. Love Big Bear. Hi, Esther. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thank you so much. I lost my sound. I was listening to KFI, and my sound just went out.
I hate it when that happens.
Well.
So are you listening on a computer?
Yes.
Okay.
Adele.
And do you have sound for anything else, or is it all gone?
It's all gone.
All gone. Well, a couple of things. You know, what I'm going to tell you is kind of a general thing, because I can't crawl behind your computer. I'm in the radio, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So you could put the radio behind the computer, but I don't think I could see what's going on. So you're going to have to be my hands and eyes and ears. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to troubleshoot this. Now, you don't have to do it right now, but I want you to understand the general gist of troubleshooting, which is to go one by one through the possible causes, always starting with the easiest and then moving your way along. So first thing to check, of course, make sure your cable's plugged in. Do you have external speakers?
Wait. Yes, but wait, I had all this already checked out by people that live up here, and then
but cables get kicked, things fall out.
Yeah,
stuff happens. Yeah, but you should plug it in again.
Someone said roll back a driver or add one? What's that?
Well, there's where we're getting to the later in the troubleshooting where it gets more hard, more difficult, more costly. So once you've checked to make sure, in fact, one thing you could do that I bet you didn't do, do you have any headphones?
Headphones? No.
Okay. No earbuds that came with your smartphone, anything like that?
No.
Okay. You have any teenagers in the neighborhood? Get them to come over. They'll have some. The thing is, what you need is a mini jack. So is it a desktop, Dell, or is it a laptop?
It's a desk.
It's a desktop. So if they crawl behind and they plug in headphones into that sound card and they hear sound, then it's not the driver. Okay?
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Yeah, so have somebody with some little mini, the normal headphones have a big jack, the phono jack. You want the headphones that come with your iPod or your iPhone or smartphone. Everybody has them. All the kids have them now. And plug that into the back and see if you can hear sound. If you can, then we know it's not the computer. It's not the drivers, which is a kind of software. It's something to do with the speakers and the cabling, okay? We're trying to figure out. This is that troubleshooting thing I'm talking about. So first thing you do is you plug in headphones into the sound card. Do I hear anything? If I hear something, then you check the cable that leads to the speakers. You check the speakers. Are the speakers the kind you plug in? Is it plugged in? Is power getting to the speakers? All of that. Is the red light on when you turn the speakers on? Is the volume turned up? These are all the troubleshooting things that you need to do. Now, if you've done all that, and or you plug in the headphones and you don't hear anything, then whoever said, well, you should try the driver. By the way, there's two answers that every tech guy will give you when you have a problem like this. Reinstall Windows, reinstall the drivers. That's a generic answer for any problem. Actually, the first thing to tell you is reboot the computer. So reboot the computer, check the drivers, check and reinstall drivers or reinstall Windows. And it could be those. It's unlikely, but it could be those. If it is, then it's a little more complicated. Now you need somebody who understands how computers work.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's why I want you to do the headphones first, because it might just be those. It might not be the computer. So, and then the other thing to do is to go into the mixer in Windows. There's a little speaker icon on the tray, and click that and make sure your speakers are turned up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo. Poor Esther. I feel bad. And, you know, I'd love to be able to somehow reach out through the computer and fix these problems. And sometimes they're very simply fixed, sometimes not so simply, but at least I can, you know, I would love to be, and I guess what we need is we need some sort of team of people that we can send out. Is there anybody in Big Bear who could run up and help Esther? Because really, it's very hard to do this over the radio. Somebody said it's like walking somebody through brain surgery. Okay, now first you're going to shave the scalp. Make sure you get your number 3 scalpel. Don't use number 4. And you have your brain saw ready, right? Don't touch that brain. That could be a problem. It really, I mean, look, the consequences aren't as severe, but it's kind of like that. If your speakers stop working, do not leap to the conclusion that it's your drivers right away. There's a lot of things you should check before you start messing with the brains of the computer. And that's why so many people just say, well, oh, the heck with it. I'm going to Costco. I'm buying a new one. It breaks my heart. It's not the right answer. But so for many people, there are better answers now. And that is, first of all, step 1, friends don't let friends buy Windows PCs. Just don't buy a Windows PC, folks. If you're not look, if you're the kind of person that goes, oh, Leo, that's wrong. I love Windows. That's fine. You should buy a Windows PC. No one else should buy a Windows PC. If you're Esther and you go in the store and go, I don't know what to get. What should I get? Don't get a Windows PC, Esther. Don't get no, stop. In fact, many of you shouldn't buy a Mac either. That's not the solution. There are good solutions out there now. Tablets are great. iPads great. If all you're doing is checking email, buying a thing or two on Amazon, going to a website or two, a tablet is a great solution. And the sound doesn't go out. There are no drivers. It's so much easier. A lot of people maybe should get Chromebooks. Very inexpensive. Very good solutions. No malware, no problems at all. In fact, if something gets screwed up on a Chromebook, which looks just like a laptop, There's this feature Google built in called Power Wash. You power wash it, and it's back to the way it was, like that. And you log onto your Google account. All your mail's there. All your apps are there. All your extensions, all your data. It's all still there. But you power washed it. These things are the kinds of things normal people should be buying. Normal people should be buying these. They should not be buying computers. They're too complicated, and you don't need them for what you do. And you get, I mean, and now poor Esther's got to climb behind the Dell tower that somebody talked her into buying and figure out where the sound card is, find some headphones, plug it into the right port. There's 3 of them. There's yellow, there's green, there's blue. Which one? I don't know. Until she hears sound, and if she doesn't hear sound, now she's going to uninstall and reinstall drivers? Really? That's the right thing? It's just not, it's friends don't let friends buy Windows computers, period. Just stop. Stop the insanity. Stop the madness. I know for a long time that was the default. Well, that's what everybody has Windows. That's what they're selling at Costco. I'm just going to get a, no, don't, please, do yourself a favor. Get an iPad. You know, in the early days of cars, they came with a mechanic. Did you know that in the teens, when people in 1910, if you got a car, you got a mechanic, a driver and a mechanic, because no one could keep these things working. You had to have a professional. We're still kind of in that era when it comes to PCs. Get an iPad, get a tablet. That's why they're so successful, because they don't have these problems. Kent in San Diego, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Kent.
Hey, how you doing this afternoon?
I am well. How are you?
Not too bad. Hey, I got a situation where I had a hard drive go bad on me, so I bought another computer, and I bought a docking station along with it, because there's information on the other hard drive that I needed, and I plugged it into the docking station, and when I go to access the files, it says I don't have permission or access denied. And I was wondering, is there something I need to do to where it says, oh, I recognize you?
Windows machine?
Yes.
Yeah. It's you didn't have encryption on that hard drive, I presume?
No, I did not.
You need to take ownership. So what it is when you create files, somebody owns those files, and you're not logged in as that somebody anymore. You're logged in as a new person, even if it's still Kent. It's new Kent, not old Kent.
Okay.
So if you Google, it's a few steps. I don't want to go through them on the air, but if you Google take ownership of files or change Windows file permissions, there's a way to, without doing anything, just make those files be yours, not new Kent's, not old Kent's, and then you'll be able to get in and work on them.
Okay.
It's not unusual. Unfortunately, this is a common problem. It's because these are essentially considered to be multi-user computers, and so somebody owns that file. And since you are logging in on a new operating system, it's not you. We'll put it. The other thing you can do, Padre has put in a link. Thank you, Padre. He's kind of a priest and an IT guy, and he's put in a link to a tech note from Microsoft that you can go to. We'll put that in the show notes at techguylabs.com. Taking ownership of a file or a folder. This is for Windows 7. I presume you're talking Windows 7. It's fairly similar for XP and so forth.
Well, I have a Windows 7 OS right now trying to talk to XP.
Yeah. It's the same issue. They're NT based. This is why I wish people wouldn't buy Windows machines. They're NT based, and NT was a multi-user operating system and supported file permissions, and you're seeing what's happening. It's a fundamental issue. It's very easy to fix. You need to make those be yours. You can do that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you shouldn't buy a Windows PC. You just shouldn't. Larry in Burbank, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Larry.
Hello, Leo. How you doing, man?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. I've got a real stumper for you today. You probably never heard of it before.
Oh, I bet you. I bet you I have, but let's try.
Okay, telemarketers are the dregs of our society. Now,
They really are. They should just all be lined up against the wall.
That's right. That's right. I use my phone and my Bluetooth while I'm working. I do service work.
Okay.
And I get a phone. My Bluetooth announces who's calling me.
Yeah.
If it's in my contact.
You're getting a call from Joey.
That's right. Well,
hang on the line. We got to take a break. When that sound happens, I have to pause. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Larry in Burbank gets calls from telemarketers. This much we know. What happens?
I get them all the time.
All the time. Isn't that horrible? Now, is that because your number's listed?
Well, I've got 4 lines in my business. They all forward into my cell phone.
Yeah. So you're going to get, that makes sense. You get 4 times the telemarketer's calls.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway, the thing is this, Leo. I've never heard of this before, and I don't know how it happens. They call in, and my Bluetooth device announces that I'm getting a call from, let's say, George, who is on my contacts list, with a local 818 number, and I answer the phone. I think I'm going to talk to George, and it's lo and behold, it's my Google specialist.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Calling me.
Oh, that's frustrating.
So I'm saying, how is it that a telemarketer can get into my...
It isn't the telemarketer, it's your Bluetooth. It's something that the Bluetooth's doing. So can you see the number that is being actually, the number that's actually coming in?
Yes, I can.
Is it your George's number or is it a different number?
Yes. It's the number of the person on my contact list.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you use Google Voice?
No.
Okay. I'm not sure. I mean, you can look. I can have a call come in from any number that I want. That's easy to do. There are websites that'll do it. It's easy to spoof the caller ID. That's not a question. But how would they know your friend's phone number? I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems very unlikely that the telemarketer is doing that. Seems much more likely there's something wrong with the call recognition on the Bluetooth. I doubt very much a telemarketer has your friend's George's phone number. Plus, the amount of energy involved in spoofing that number, even if it just takes a few seconds, which it does, isn't worth it. They're calling number after number after number after number looking for a fish. Most of the value of that is the more numbers they call, the more likely they'll find that fish. You're not that fish. So they don't want to waste any time, including spoofing the number. So I doubt very much it's them doing that. I think it's much more likely something going on with your Bluetooth.
Well, I've had these calls for such a long time, and on the iPhone 5, I can block incoming calls.
It's really nice when you see the call and you see the number and you go, I don't know that number, and not answer it. I do that all the time. Saves me a lot of that energy.
I'm working away, and my Bluetooth says George is calling.
Right. Then you're going to answer it. Yeah, I know. I understand why this is annoying.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what's wrong, but I'm almost certain it's not the telemarketer doing this.
Yeah.
It's got to be an error in the software that's forwarding the call. Is it software forwarding it? What is it? Is it a piece of hardware that is forwarding these numbers? How do you get 4 numbers into one? What are you doing for that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I would guess it's somewhere in there. Yeah, these systems are software mostly. They're all now basically VoIP and software makes mistakes. For some reason, my Google Voice number it rings all my phones, but if I don't answer for some reason, somebody else's voicemail picks up. That's not right. Obviously, it's ringing my phones. It shouldn't be somebody else's voicemail picking up, but it is. This poor guy. I feel for him. Every once in a while, he picks up and he yells at people calling me. I am not Leo. Stop doing this. And I apologize, but it's something going on in the forwarding software. It's a software error. And I'm not sure. You might try it. I mean, I don't think it's worth going out and buying a new Bluetooth headset or I'm not sure how you're connecting 4 calls into one. That's where I would look. Are you using carrier forwarding? Maybe check that. Turn it off, turn it on again. But But almost certainly the telcos aren't spoofing the number. It is easy to spoof a number, by the way. I shouldn't tell people this, but it's not a hard thing to do. And remember, telemarketers are like cockroaches. They get in where no one else could. They're just amazing in their persistence. Bill in Michigan's asking a great question in the chat room. Larry, do you get bad caller IDs from other calls, or is it just telemarketers? See, what I was thinking is it may be that the caller ID you're getting from the telemarketer itself is bogus. It's something like 0013055559, not a real phone number. And that could be throwing the software that's supposed to identify that number. That's what I suspected. But you say you're seeing a caller ID, but maybe that's down the road. That's why I asked if you're using Google Voice, because a lot of times my calls from Google Voice come from a few standard Google Voice numbers. I don't know. It's complicated, isn't it? Don't worry. The telemarketers don't know George's number. I'm almost certain of it. James is in Bullhead City, Arizona. Hi, James. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo.
Hey, James.
Hey, it's great to talk to you. I'm looking at a report online on the cost of connectivity for 2013. It says here, and I quote, "This year, speeds of 100, 200, and 300 megabits per second are available in Paris for around $30 a month."
Isn't that calling?
Further down in Amsterdam, a symmetrical 500 megabit per second broadband connection costs just over $86 a month.
Yeah.
Now, Leo, look, I know I live out in the desert. I'm far away. The weather conditions are harsh here. But I pay $50 for 3 megabits.
Yeah.
Okay? And
What's
and
the deal?
That's like a 100 times, 200 times, you know.
Well, don't compare yourself with Paris, because you shouldn't compare yourself with metros in any way. Of course, the more remote you are, the more expensive your internet is.
Sure.
But even in Manhattan, even in Dallas, even in San Francisco, we pay more than many, many countries. And there are a number of reasons for that. Sometimes it's because these are government-run systems. They're subsidized. Sometimes it's because the government owns the lines, but there's a significant competition to be the internet service provider over those lines. That's the case in some places. In other places like Japan, it's owned by a private company, NTT Docomo, owns all the phone lines. There's competition on top of that, many different, and I think competition is the key, by the way, to why these prices are lower. So, but sometimes it's infrastructure. We also pay a price because we invented it. Just as cell phones started here, because cell phones started here, we have a lot of older, incompatible systems, CDMA and GSM. And then in areas where it was a newer build, they never went down that bad CDMA road. They're all GSM. They all interoperate. There's certain advantages to not being the leader, you understand, not being the first. We have older infrastructure. But I think the biggest problem falls right at the foot of the Federal Communications Commission. And it comes from their creation of a duopoly in this country. 80% of Americans, according to a study I just saw, 80% only have two choices for internet: their cable company and their phone company. You can get satellite internet, but it's so bad that nobody wants that. But if we're talking about internet over, terrestrial internet, two choices. And that was something the FCC set up for some, I think, fairly reasonable rationale. It was so expensive to trench out to individual homes for the cable companies, they gave them a regional monopoly. They said, one and only one cable company will be the incumbent in that area. Same thing with a phone company. There's one phone company in most areas, and it's the phone company or the cable company that provides the internet. Well, if you're Comcast, let's just pick a name out of a hat, and you're the only provider in the area, what's the incentive to offer 200 megabits for $30? Zero. We get the internet we deserve, and frankly, that's what we're getting. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. As always, as we come to the close of the Tech Guy Show, after all the Windows errors and the overpriced ISPs, it's nice to lay back, relax, enjoy a little humor, a little fun, a little gadgeteering with this guy here, Inkpot Award winner, Mr. Dick DeBartolo, the GizWiz, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. Every week he joins us with a gadget or something fun to play with. Hey, Dickie D.
How are you? I have to clear something up that you just said to someone.
Yeah. What?
Electronics do not gain in value when you save them?
Dick has something called the Gadget Warehouse. He's been saving gadgets for 40 years.
I know.
How much money are you making?
$400 a month it costs.
He lives in the most expensive real estate in the world.
Right,
and he's
exactly.
renting a room for his old gadgets.
Exactly. So you mean my game console is...
Well, you know what? You're now at the point where they're becoming collectibles. You actually might have turned this around at some point.
I hope.
Is it still in the box?
It's still in the box. I have all the games.
Wow.
Yeah.
The GameCom might, I don't know. Was that an early Nintendo? I'm trying to remember.
You know what? I don't even remember. No, I go up there always with the intention. I'm just going up and I'm throwing boxes of stuff out. And I get there and I go, well, not this.
No,
not
I
this.
can't let go of that. $400 a month. It's really a gadget old age home you're running there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The Sophia brothers depend on me for their livelihood.
I've been there. It's wonderful. The Sophia Brothers warehouse. You go up in this creaky old elevator.
Which has been replaced at my expense.
No. Oh, I'm sad to hear that. I felt like that was an adventure going up in there.
It was. It's the same cab, but I think it doesn't, though. You don't hear those clanking chains and you don't fear for your life.
Yeah. I thought that was it was like an amusement park ride visiting the Gadget Warehouse.
Exactly.
So what do you got for us? What's
fun
future Gadget Warehouse entry do you have?
Future Gadget Warehouse. A fun gadget for toys and people like Jeff Needles, because I talked about it on the Gizwiz this past Wednesday, and Chad said, oh, Jeff Needles is drooling. It's a kit called the GyroBot. And, you know, gyroscopes, we have them in the phones and in our tablets. So this is a kit that uses a gyroscope. You put in 3 batteries and you have an actual operating gyroscope. And you can build 7 different models. The most fun is the GyroBot, who can actually, and I saw this at a press event, I was holding a string and the guy demonstrating it was holding the other end, and you put this GyroBot on it, and it actually rolls across the string, balancing itself. And you can build a gyro compass and a flight simulator. It's pretty neat.
I loved gyroscopes when I was a kid.
You know what? I
kind
do
of
too.
magic, right?
Yes. You know, when I was a kid, did you have this, Leo? It was a metal top.
Yeah.
And it did have a notch on the bottom
and you
for
go
a string.
And you go whoo, and you could balance it on your finger.
Yes.
Yeah, you could actually have it go across like a tightrope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now this one is electric.
Oh, so you don't have to pull a string anymore, kids today.
No.
They got it so easy.
And it's not badly priced. It's under $50, but on Amazon it's under $40.
So it looks like you got this kind of gyroscope engine that you can, like with Lego style bricks, build something onto. Is that
exactly?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then operate it, since it's battery powered.
That's pretty cool.
So
and they show it going on a tightrope, and that's
ages 8 and up.
It's from a weird company, Thames and Cosmos.
Exactly. I guess they're from overseas.
I think they must be from Great Britain if they're called Thames.
I would think, yeah.
Interesting.
Otherwise, it would be Hudson and Cosmos.
Yeah, right. So you saw it working, though, and it's pretty cool?
It's really neat. It's very clever.
I think this would be a fun thing for kids. It's on. I see it on Amazon, so you can get it. Be a fun toy to play with, yes. Dick's website is Gizwiz, GIZWIZ.biz. That's the place to go if you want to play the What the Heck Is It contest. A chance to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine, autographed by this guy right here, Dickie D. Let me just go see what so what it is a close-up picture of a gadget. So you click What the Heck Is It, and there it is. Oh, this is the one that you ordered, but you have no idea what it is.
I do know now.
Oh, you found out?
No, well, someone found out for me. Someone said, "This is what you ordered."
Oh,
it was in Japanese. The printing is all in Japanese.
It's a pants press. You put the pant leg on there, and then you iron it.
Could be.
Looks like it.
Actually, you could probably iron both legs at the same time.
You could. You just flip it over and then you iron the other leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Or you can make very large panini. I
like it.
Make up something you're more likely to win. 12 autographed copies for the right answer. 24 autographed copies of Mad Magazine for the best, clever, wrong answer. And you're playing for, what, the September Mad Magazine?
The October issue.
October issue. Contest goes through the end of August. For rules and details, gizwiz.bzz. Stick around. Dick DeBartolo will be doing the Giz Fizz right after the radio show on the Twit Podcast Network. And I should probably explain, you mentioned people like Chad and Jeff and the show called The Giz Wiz. People don't know what that is on the radio. Those are the people who populate his fantasies and dreams. And he talks about them a lot. We don't know. We've never met them. All right, Dick, stick around, everybody. Only a couple of minutes left. Let's see if we can get a quick call in from Ryan, because he's in the best place in the world, Maui. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Leo. I'm a big fan.
Oh, I just got back from Maui. You live in a beautiful place.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't you lucky?
Swaying.
Do you surf for anything?
No, I'm not a very good swimmer, but I do boogie board.
You stay inside and play with your computer all day.
Yeah. That's why I'm calling you.
What can I do for you, Ryan?
I have a MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
And I got it from my auntie PK, and
thank you, Auntie.
It has it has a lot of programs on it and stuff I don't want.
You want to start over. You want to start absolutely. Anybody gives you a used computer, don't hesitate. They should have erased the disk before they gave it to you. If they didn't, then now it's your job. The good news with Apple is how recent a Mac Pro is it? A relatively new?
It's a 2009, I think. Yeah.
Okay. The good news with Apple is they have a recovery partition. Most PCs now do too. That'll allow you to install that fresh as if it's brand new. If it's a even more recent Mac, you can actually install over the network. What you'll do is reboot it and hold down the
control key or something.
Command
like that?
Option R, I think is what it is, but I'll have to look it up. We'll put it in the show notes at techguylabs.com. And it'll do a clean install for you from the network. So it'll be just like it came from the factory. Now, it's 2009, so you're going to get probably Lion as the operating system.
Yeah, Mac OS X Lion.
Yeah, that's
Snow
fine.
Leopard, actually.
Or Snow Leopard, okay. You'll be able to upgrade it. What's beautiful about Apple now is they no longer charge for operating system upgrades. So when Yosemite comes out, you'll be able to upgrade it to Yosemite. Right now, you can upgrade it to Mavericks. So Command Option R after you reboot. So do actually shut it down is the best thing to do. Then turn it on.
I don't have the laptop with me at the moment.
Okay, but we're out of time, but this will work. Turn it off. Command Option R. Install the latest version. You're good. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.